Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your girl JoJo, and I'm here with a review for Family or Fiance. This is season 2, episode 2. This is my recycling in the back. It's not trash. I got to go to the recycling center. Also, I just left the MLK parade. I hope you guys did something great to honor the memory of MLK. If you didn't, you just wanted to relax. Hey, honor them that way too if you want. But I went to the parade today. I had a wonderful time, and so now I'm able to get this review done. And I won't hold you too long, so let's get to it. So we have Alexis and Danley on this episode. I'll admit that this episode really annoyed me. There was a couple of times where I just turned it off, and I had to come back and pick it up and start watching it again. You know, I really miss when this show first started, the very first season. I felt like nobody really knew what to expect, and everybody was just kind of coming in organically. Like, everybody's reactions were more organic. Everybody was coming in with the idea of solving the issue of the families not being together. Now, what I'm starting to see in this episode and the one before it, I feel like some of the family members have watched the show, and some of them are putting on extra in order to be like the most memorable family of the season. That's what I'm getting. I saw it a little bit last week, and I feel like I'm getting a little bit of that today. Like, everybody just kind of wants to be like, I don't know. Y'all can let me know if you notice it, but it's definitely a different tone than the season before. Plus these camera confessionals that you record yourself, like, I don't know. But anyway, so Alexis and Danley. So when we see them together, we find out that they have been in a relationship for 3 years. They met at the DMV, which I don't know why that was funny to me. It just was. We learned right off that Alexis does indeed have some security issues. She even admits it. She wants passwords to the phone. She wants to know where Danley is. Danley is her first boyfriend, which is strange to me that she even has security issues, but she does. And Danley's issues more so center around just Alexis's attitude, wanting her to calm down, wanting her to relax, and wanting her to be more open to his culture. So let me just go right into what the family's problems are. Danley's family has a Haitian background, and they are concerned that Alexis is not very respectful of that or open to it. They are also concerned about the fact that Alexis doesn't seem to handle Danley well, doesn't seem to speak to him well, doesn't treat him well. They've also stated that, well, Danley stated this actually, that his friend may want him to just be single like him and play in the field, even though the friend didn't actually say that. He's more concerned about, the communication, her attitude, those type of things. He didn't mention that he wanted him to be single, but that's what Danley said in the session. Her family her mother is concerned about the background of the Haitian background, saying that she knows that the men want the women at home and taking care of everything and doing all the housework and doing all the nurturing, and don't really want their women to, I don't know if she said they didn't want them to work, but they're very strict with their women. But then she turns right around and asks Danley if he's going to be a provider. So you want to put the masculine expectations on Danley, but then when somebody puts the feminine expectations on your daughter, that's a problem. Strange to me. The uncle, I don't really know what the uncle's grievances were. I think his main thing was he just felt like they weren't ready. There was some mention of Alexis being too young. She is immature. She's actually not too young to get married, but she is extremely immature. I mean, I got friends who was getting married around that age, so it can be done, but the maturity levels are not right. And then, let me see, what was the other? Oh, Grandma Mary. How could I, child? And she was the main source of contention through this episode, her and her granddaughter. But we're going to get to Grandma Mary in just a moment, trust me. But her issue is the souls. Because if their soul's not right, and if God is not the head of this marriage, then it isn't going to work. I promise you we're going to get there, y'all. So in the breakout session, I liked that Tracy corrected Alexis about the whole cultural thing, because it seems that her family is kind of feeding that to her, and she in turn is not being open and accepting to his cultural background, but wants people to be accepting of hers. And when it comes to culture, there's two things to me, and I'm about to go off on tangent number one, so just get ready. There's two things to me that, I mean, it's just that I take personal offense to. Number one is somebody saying that you don't have a culture, and number two is somebody being dismissive of your culture. See, and this ain't, I'm gonna say it because it's in my feelings right now, but it is a tangent. So the first one, with just saying that somebody doesn't have a culture, I want all of my black people out there, I love you. I want y'all to quit letting people tell y'all that, and quit believing that, and quit internalizing that. I know that we are descendants of slavery, so our culture is not as rich. It's not as maybe vibrant as some other people's, cultures or other people that we see. But don't, how can I explain it? Don't get so caught up in looking what's going on outside that you forget what you have going on inside, and who you are. And who you feel yourself to be. The culture is within you. Nobody can take that away from you. It's in all that we do. It's in our hair. It's in our mannerisms. It's in the way that we speak. It's in our facial features. It's what we've contributed to the world, the places that we live in today. Talk to your family. Talk to your close friends if you're not tight with your family like that. Talk to your communities. That's where your culture is embodied, in the places that surround you. When I really got in touch with my family and my lineage and my bloodline and grandparents, great grandparents, and soaked up all of this information, I realized where certain values came from, certain traditions. And so when people be like, well, we don't have no culture, I'd be like, y'all don't have no culture, baby. I got a culture. It is alive and vibrant within me. It is in everything that we do. It's in all that we've contributed. And I know that people want to go back and you want to know where you came from before the slave trade, and that's completely understandable. I support that, but I wouldn't allow that to ever take away from the culture that I have created and I have experienced here. Nobody will diminish my presence here or tell me that I don't have one. But anyway, that was just tangent number one. Stop letting people tell y'all that. Number two, being dismissive of the culture. And that's what she's doing to Danley, and that's what her family did to Danley, and they continue to do it throughout the rest of the episode, specifically the grandmother. For anybody to say that Haitian background is just so different, and I don't know if I want to, you would stand to read a book about how the Haitians exerted their independence and fought for their freedom. It's something that we can learn there. Also, if you know anything about the Louisiana Purchase and how Haitians were and I don't know all the ins and outs, but I know that they were definitely involved with that. Like, there's a lot of things, and that contributes to American history. So it's just like, don't say ignorant stuff like that, because you can tell that you have not, you don't desire to learn, and you really don't know anything, so you should have a desire to learn. On top of that, she states also that he is Catholic. He grew up Catholic. She is a Christian, which, again, she don't know. I mean, those are housed. Y'all tell me if I'm wrong. Is Catholicism not housed under Christianity? Or y'all, I'm okay. But I think she means like maybe she might be Baptist and he is Catholic or something along those lines. Maybe she's Pentecostal. But either way, there's some differences there, and I just don't know. Like, he has to get saved, and he has to do this, and he has to do that. We're going to embark on that journey just momentarily. But the statements that she made told me again, she just really don't know nothing. And Bondi actually could tell you. Bondi is, I think she grew up Catholic. She actually talks a lot about that on her channel. Y'all know she's from New Orleans, and she told me a lot of things that I didn't know one time in one of her videos. So, you got to be open to, y'all, I'm telling you, this episode was difficult. But you need to open yourself up to really learn about people, especially if you're going to want to marry them. Come on. See, I already been talking too long. All right. So, then we move into the same old stuff. So, she's going to cook with the family. They're going to make a Haitian dish. And then he's going to do the question game with her family. Did I already mention that nobody, as far as Danley's family goes, there was no like mother, auntie, nobody high up in the family, high up, came to, get the whole blessing decision. And that further let me know how they feel about this marriage. A cousin came and 2 friends. Come on now, y'all. Y'all know that's a dead giveaway. I couldn't remember if I already mentioned that or not. So, now, when we get to, let's start with Alexis. First of all, Alexis doesn't know how to cook. So, where does she get off to, all this talk that y'all was doing about what Danley can't do, but your granddaughter can't even cook. So that's number one. Then, you could tell she didn't really want to prepare Haitian food, but, okay, this was in the therapy session. But when she got there, she was cutting up food. She was saying she wants to learn how to make Danley's favorite dishes. They're going to do something simple today, so the cousin is putting her on. And then after that, they just start putting that heat on her, okay? And she wanted to get up out the kitchen. But basically, they were telling her that they thought she was rude. They don't like the way she speaks to Danley. They don't like the way that she is suspicious of him. They don't appreciate the way that she deletes all her text messages out her phone. I said, let's hear more about that. But Alexis doesn't care. She says that Danley allows her to be that way. She talked to him like that because he let her talk to him like that. He treats me like a queen. And they said, well, who do you think you are, Princess Diana? She said, oh, no, honey, I'm Princess Sheba. I said, again, she need to read a book. But, yeah, just very snooty. Very like, I'm going to do what I want to do. I don't care. I'm not making no changes. I am who I am, and y'all going to deal with it. So we get over to Danley, who's a lot more respectful. I could tell that the family, I think in general, they do like Danley. They think that he is a nice guy. But they just taking their cues, I think, from Grandma Mary. So when Danley gets over there, they're asking him questions about, the uncle wants to know, what about her attitude and some of the things that you all have experienced? Do you feel like that's something that's going to change? And the mom and Danley both say that it's going to change once they get married. And the uncle said, how so? And the mom opens up her mouth to speak. And the uncle says, I was talking to him. I said, thank you, uncle. Thank you. Okay, let her know this ain't got nothing to do with you. But Danley says, well, Alexis told him that, so he just believed it. And I know we like Danley, and I know we don't like Alexis, but I'm going to have to tell Danley this. You got to be real careful. You got to find that line. I tell people all the time. People call me mean every other day. I don't care. But you have to find that line between, y'all, I had my key turned again. You have to find that line between being a nice person and being a pushover. The line is very, very fine, especially for you extremely nice people. We appreciate you. But don't let people steamroll and bulldoze you over, because that is what Alexis is doing to him. Stop it, Danley. Stand your ground. Moving on. So he says that Alexis just told him that, so he believed it. And the uncle says that's not how marriage works. It's not going to change once you get married. Nothing, the stuff that's going on now is still going to be going on if you don't address it. Correct. Grandma Mary, again, is concerned about the souls and, you're going to have to get saved or the children will not be blessed and blah, 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 blah. And, I'm going to just go ahead and say this, and it's probably not right, but I am going to say it. Because she a grandma, and I know how sensitive I am about my grandmas, but, she got on the show, so she going to get the heat like everybody else. Grandma Mary, you're ignorant. Grandma Mary is an ignorant person, and I don't mean ignorant in the sense of, like, she's literally stupid. I believe she's ignorant and she really doesn't know. And she's even more so ignorant and rude because she doesn't care to find out. And that is the worst kind of ignorant that you could possibly be. Grandma Mary is religious. She is not spiritual, not from what I can see on television. And she is one of those people. Y'all remember how the word talked about, see, this is what I don't like to get into this kind of stuff on my channel. I really don't. But y'all remember how the Old Testament mentioned the Pharisees and the Sadducees. And the Pharisees knew all of the rules and all the regulations and all the laws, and they knew all of these things, and so they automatically felt like they were better than the other groups, but they had no relationship. That's what Grandma Mary reminds me of. So I just was getting a whole lot of, you got to follow these rules and this layout, and if you're not, then you're not a good person, and you're not going to be able to marry my granddaughter, and you're not going to have a blessed life. And, I don't get into a whole lot of that type of rhetoric with people, because I feel like if you raised such this great family and this religious family, why is your granddaughter acting the way she's acting? Even worse, why is it that when y'all get to the table and you say you ask the Lord who should pray, and the Lord said Alexis, and she gives us this very elementary playground games prayer, and y'all know the type of prayer I'm talking about. Okay, I can't even do it because I don't even remember that prayer anymore. It's, oh, God is great, God is good, let us thank him for our food, by his hands we shall be fed. I said we might as well bring out my sister's preschool prayer. Thank you for the food, thank you for the food, daily bread, and our many blessings, amen, amen. They should have just got me up in there to pray if we was gonna do that. But yeah, so if you raised up this person that's all of this and that, and deserves this real, he got to be godly, he got to be saved, he got to get baptized and all of that, why is she praying that way? Okay, number one, Grandma Mary. Number two, why does she have such a nasty attitude? You out there running around spitting out Bible verses out of Romans. I can't even remember what she said. But let's get into a little bit of Matthew 7:1. Judge not, lest ye be judged. All right, are you practicing that in your daily walk with the Lord? Or let's get into another, Proverbs 22:6. Train up a child in the way that he should go, and when he is older, he will not depart from it. Did Alexis depart from prayer life because she couldn't pray? Did she depart from learning how to be a good person, doing unto others, because she's rude? She's disrespectful? She doesn't know how to speak to her man? Did you teach her Proverbs 31? Is she a Proverbs 31 woman or no? Because she can't cook? So there's a whole bunch of holes in the story. And I don't really appreciate her coming on here making all, church already get a bad rap. So now she really making it look bad. Then, I'm skipping forward a little bit. After the dinner, which the dinner was a mess, but I want to just speak on this part right quick. Grandma Mary wants to open up the door and pray so she can let the devil out. I said, while you letting the devil out, you will go ahead and you need to walk right behind him, because I do believe you are his advocate. And then shut the door on your way. Thank you and good night, Grandma Mary. Just ignorant. Nobody has time for things like that. All right, I'm back. So, so anyway, the dinner doesn't go well, and the family pretty much lets it be known that it didn't go well with Alexis, although her family did say it went fairly well with Danley. But she's rude, she's disrespectful, she don't treat you right, she doesn't talk to you right, she goes through your phone, she's insecure, and Alexis just says, and so what? I'm gonna be that. I'm gonna continue to do those things. And it's like a light bulb goes off for Danley, and I really think he was embarrassed that she continued to act like that, even in front of everybody. Even her family was just like, Alexis, now come on, you don't need to act like that. You don't get to treat people like that. She just like, oh, well, I'm going to do what I want to do. And even the grandmother says, selfish people need to be by themselves. And that's just because the grandma want her to be single too. So when they have their next therapy session, Tracy addresses the dinner. She addresses the fact that Alexis seems like she's not really willing to try when it comes to her relationship and give that 50-50. She doesn't believe she needs to give 50-50, and if she doesn't believe that, then it's not going to work. And so at this time, Alexis says that she is going to try to make the effort to change. She's going to try to make the effort to do better. She's going to try to work on her security. She says that she's going to try to do better within the process, right? Child, we move forward in the process. We get to the next day. Alexis does just as bad. She show out just as much. She gets just as rowdy, just as disrespectful. Nothing changes. So by the time they get to their next session, Tracy addresses the fact that she doesn't believe Alexis is sincere about wanting to change. When people want to change, they show it. They cry. They're apologetic. And to me, I feel like you're just giving me empty promises, which she was. Okay, I'm going to do better, and I want to fight for you, and I don't want to lose you. And Danley is kind of looking like he's kind of checked out of the whole thing. And Tracy notices. She says, I see a change in you. I don't really know what it is right now, but I can see something is brewing with you. So they tried to figure out where Alexis's different feelings come from, and some of her, stalking a man and thinking a man is always going to cheat when that's never happened to her. They talk about even again the religious aspect, and she was like, well, my grandmother, I think I get a lot of stuff from my grandmother. And Tracy said, your grandmother's alone. Which was funny. All right, well, you gonna let your grandmother lead you down the path of loneliness for what, y'all's namesake? Is that what you're gonna do? No, ma'am. You know, if she knew how it's supposed to go, then she would. I mean, I don't know where they granddaddy at. Let me not talk, because is granddaddy, is he dead and gone, or is he somewhere watching this show like I told you about her? That's why I left her a long time ago. Okay, let me see. Let me scroll some more. Sorry. Oh, I got all these notes. And I just been rambling on. So, okay, let me just jump to the end, because it's just more of the same pretty much during the episode. In the very end, nobody gives them the blessing. Nobody wants to see them get married. And when I tell you, Danley said that the whole thing was over, that they wasn't ready, and then he proceeded to snatch that ring and her soul as well. It was like a, give it here. That was Danley exerting some more of his independence. Alexis's family got the nerve to be shocked. And, he humiliated her. Well, not Grandma Mary. She said she wasn't shocked, because, you know, that was her plan all along. But, you humiliated her. Did you have to do that? It looks like, look, I don't care about him humiliating her. Y'all can tell me I'm wrong. I don't care if she was embarrassed. She deserved it, because she had been embarrassing him the entire episode. Then, y'all, to really, really grind my gears and to really make me want to throw a book at the TV, the two of them are still together. They're not engaged, but they're shacking up, and he got baptized. So, Grandma Mary, are you pleased with that? Are you glad with the fact that he got his soul saved and then proceeded to shack up with your granddaughter? Is that what you wanted? That's what you dreamed for? A mess. And they really should have I think they should have separated for some time. I think Alexis is insecure because Alexis is sneaky. I wanted more of why she deleted those text messages. I believe that she hounds Danley because she knows what she's doing inside of her phone and believes he's doing the same. I think that Danley is crazy to continue to put up with it. I don't care how much you love a person. You cannot let them steamroll you like that. You cannot be a pushover. They will never respect you. And I don't know if the respect will ever come from her. But that's it, y'all. Like, comment, and subscribe. The episode got on my nerves. Y'all can let me know what you think, and I'll see y'all for the next one.